Hello, listeners. Thank you for joining me for Season 5 of Cal's Audiobooks. This season is special because I'll be sharing a story I've been working on off and on since 2001. Back then, I was a sad little emo kid living in Las Vegas, writing a detective novel about a man stealing people's body parts. It was gory and bleak. I was a messed up kid. Looking back, I think it grew out of the atmosphere of the post-September 11th world, and films like Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein. This idea has been fermenting in the cast of my mind since then, and I am thrilled that it is now ready to be shared. So what is this story about? At its heart, it's about where the lines blur between becoming a monster and stopping one. This story is about Idris Whitaker. She doesn't know it yet, but she's a terminally ill 13-year-old girl about to get a second chance at life. But when a new kind of vampire threatens the town of Whispers Bay, Idris must decide what her true calling really is. If you enjoyed the story, I encourage you to also check out Whispers Bay for its backstory. The following audiobook has been rated PG-13 for violence and dark themes. Listener discretion is advised. The Calling of Idris Whitaker by M.P. Temple. Read by the author. Episode 1, Stage 4 Club. Doctor's Office, Sawyer County Hospital, Whispers Bay, Oregon. If you don't stop asking me if I'm pregnant, I will punch you in the nose. I'm 13, you creep. Idris was not in the mood to mess around. A normal kid might have been excited to get a day off from school for a doctor's appointment. But she knew something was not right. Like the ugly neon green walls in the room she sat in, something felt off. The doctor snorted and rolled his eyes. Idris thought he smelled weird and didn't like that he hardly acknowledged her. The older man seemed more interested in whatever was on his phone than whatever was going on with her. He did not seem concerned about her weight loss, her pain, or her shortness of breath. She struggled to stay awake in class and could no longer walk long distances without taking a sitting break. The once hyper child who her father couldn't get to stop running now sat pale and exhausted. The kid's hair was uncombed, and her outfit could only be described as these clothes were easy to put on. It's depression then, child. Dr. Century waved her off and closed a folder with her name written across it. You are young. There's nothing to be sad about. I'm a doctor. If I make a mistake, it matters. No one cares what you do. I'm not leaving here until I get a full blood work done, Idris demanded. You are like the students I used to teach before I got my nurse practitioner's license. They used to put their feet on the desk when I tried the lecture. Can you imagine? Idris shook her head. Give me my test. The doctor turned towards the door. Where's your father? He said he was getting some water and never came back. Idris frowned. That's not important. Give me my blood test. The doctor glared at her long enough for Idris to wonder if he was going to throw fists and burst into a fit of rage. But suddenly, he started shaking his head. A nurse, he shouted. Months later, Rossart Middle School, Whispers Bay, Oregon. Idris Whitaker knew she was going to die. There was nothing she could do about it. The 13-year-old girl with brown curly hair tossed her entire backpack into the trash can next to her locker. They had given her a box, but there was no use in keeping anything inside of it. The girl had thrown out every note and photo, including one of her father that seemed to find its way back to the top of the trash pile, staring back at her. When the Portland doctors told Mr. Whitaker and Idris the news, he had hardly even looked at his own daughter. He had avoided her since, not coming home after work. She had not seen him for weeks. Idris could feel everyone's eyes on her. Can't take it with me, Idris said. She found herself saying this or similar phrases dozens of times throughout her days. Some kids watching her laughed nervous chuckles. No one dared to say a word as she tossed stacks of get-well-soon cards into the trash. When her locker was empty of all of her belongings, she removed the top shirt she was wearing, one of the many layers of clothing she wore to keep warm. The shirt read simply, Stage 4 Club. No one had found it as humorous as Idris had. She had hoped that the obviousness would save her from explaining that she was terminally ill over and over. This did not work, and she still had to explain her fate repeatedly. She had seen so much sympathy in the past weeks, she began hating it. Well-meaning words still mean very little with her days numbered. She could no longer stand the smell of anything casserole, having been sent so many by Sunset Baptist Church. She stayed polite, of course, but Idris could hardly stand it. "Are you ready?" she heard a voice say. Of course, Idris was not ready. No one ever would be ready for that sort of thing. It would be the last time she would step foot in the musty halls of Rossart Middle School. She would never make it to Whispers High. Life was over. She turned to face the older girl with the square jaw wearing pink scrubs. People often mistook the Navajo girl for her nurse, but she was the older kid next door to the Whitakers. Idris did find it strange her neighbor kept coming into her apartment and poking her on the head with vegetables. But somehow, even as her illness worsened, she felt better when Taylor was around. Taylor had taken care of her so often the school got permission to contact her instead of Mr. Whitaker if Idris needed to be taken out of classes early. Idris knew Taylor was trying to hide her crying again, so she looked the other way. But what she saw was a hallway full of kids standing, trying to hold back their own tears. Instead, Idris looked to the ground. "Yeah, I'm done here." Idris slammed the locker. Taylor reached out and embraced her in a deep hug. Idris could hold it no longer. She cried hard and uncontrollably, holding on to Taylor. The only words she could find to say were, "This sucks. I'm gonna do everything I can for you. I promise," Taylor said. They let go of each other and headed towards the door. "Why is there always a carrot in your pocket?" Idris asked, still sobbing but trying anything she could to break the wave of sadness. "I'm in a magic cult," Taylor said. "We use vegetable wands and stick our noses up at non-magic people. I've been keeping you alive with magic herbology." The two walked towards a waiting shuttle. "I'm not in the mood to pretend," Idris said. "Why would you walk around with a vegetable in your pocket?" Taylor smiled at this. "I said I'm doing everything it takes. I've made up my mind." So your county hospital, Whispers Bay, 2019. As she lay in bed attached to beeping and chirping machines, she looked out the window at the rolling hills that led down to the shoreline. That is, when she could keep her eyes open. The sicker she got, the more she went in and out of consciousness. She spent most of her time this way. There would be times she would feel well enough to tilt her head up to watch the TV mounted on the opposite side of the room. She had no idea what she was watching when she did this. Trying to focus on anything when she was that weak and that much pain typically required too much energy. When she could find a way to stay awake, she found she preferred watching the deer gather in the timbers. She could see that 5 of them would often gather near a crosswalk, and one of them would use its nose to hit the button. She could hear the deer repeatedly causing the crosswalk to say, "Wait, wait, wait." How did the deer know how to use a crosswalk? She thought. Why is everything in town so strange? A man with a purple cape burst into the room. He adjusted his round glasses on his face and smiled. "Are you here to take me and Taylor to Novelton Ridge?" Saying the words Novelton Ridge felt to her as if she was crossing a threshold. For there she knew would be her end. But she had no more tears to cry. The hurt and constant mental strain left her numb. At that moment, her only want in life was to make the pain stop. "It's your lucky day," the man said. Idris, in fact, did not feel very lucky or good. She resented the tone of his voice. With all of her strength, she mustered the words. "Who do you think you are?" The man laughed. Well, my dear, I am the Barry Dignine, the trailblazer. I have a game here for you to help you on your journey of getting better. Barry tossed a board game onto her lap. Don't you love the cover? Barry said. Double Exposed, the board game. That is something I'd want on my shelf at home to show off to all my guests. Go ahead, look inside the box. All of this could be yours for the low price of $80. Inside the box was a slapped-together board game with missing pieces. Someone had taken a black marker and had crossed out a lot of the artwork as well. Barry noticed her and quickly interjected, Don't worry, that artist got laid off, like the rest of them. So what do you say, $80? Maybe you and your parents can play it to pass the time. This is going to fund my research, but of course you know that, little girl. My mother is dead, Idris said, and my father is at the bar, always. I don't have any friends, not since I got sick. They stopped talking to me. Oh, Barry said disappointedly. You aren't my target audience. Well, no matter. The man walked over to Idris and plucked a strand of her hair. Normally, Idris would have yelled out, but moving even a finger required so much energy she could not even respond. She could only watch as he inspected her plucked hair closely. Well, you let the nurses know if you change your mind. We have other splendid games as well. Bye now. Days later, Novelton Ridge. A strange man with a dozen cats and an old Buick drove Idris and Taylor to the small mountain town. Taylor had laid in the back with her, but Idris did not remember much. When she was awake, the pain and tiredness restricted her from doing anything productive. She had been carried into a cabin along Novelton Ridge's only street. The house had little furniture other than some equipment brought over from the Sawyer County Hospital. They placed her on a bed in the living room, which opened into the kitchen. In some ways, Idris felt relieved, but scared. All she wanted to do was hold Taylor's hand and wait for the end. Taylor tapped Idris with her pocket carrot, whispering long words of gibberish. Idris opened her eyes. I'm sorry your dad isn't here. Taylor choked out the words while squeezing tighter. You'll always be here for me, Idris said. The strange man with the cats coughed. Taylor burst into uncontrollable tears. Oh, Idris, I want to be, she cried. But soon, we won't be able to see each other again. Suck at saying goodbyes, Idris. I'm a yo-yo wizard, and I'm soul bonding with you to save you. I need you to tell people how cool I was, okay? Be something for me. The town must know about the things that Barry Dignine has been doing. The damage he has done cannot be fixed. What are you talking about? Idris said. I'm the one dying. No, I'm not letting that happen. Taylor shook her head. You're going to the void until I can find a way to cure you. There's little left of me, but I wanted to let you have the final pieces. My parents are dead. I have nothing left to give. You are my legacy. I'm gonna miss you, kid. Someday you're gonna live an amazing long life, even if you'll be seen as an oathbreaker. Idris had no idea what any of this meant. The man with cats interjected. Are you sure? Once you go through with this, there's no backing out. It is permanent. I've made up my mind, Taylor said. Idris tried to flee, but she could not. She was not well enough to lift herself off the bed. What are you doing? I'm scared. I want to go home, Idris said. It'll be over soon, Taylor said. She placed the carrot wand in Idris's forehead and uttered a long spell. The man looked on with his arms crossed, his cats played at his feet. The life of Idris Whitaker flowed in the Taylor. All of her pain and consciousness disappeared from the earth, leaving behind a stone statue of her, a place marker in some ways, since her soul had been sent to the void. The Not a Magic Tea Shop Magic Dispensary, Whispers Bay, 2024. Like coming out of a dream or being put under at a dentist's office, Idris woke after 5 years of being in the void. She lay on a wooden floor on top of a woman she had never seen before. She coughed, feeling like her body had somehow been in storage. but her pain and illness remained. A giant humanoid-like monster with dozens of heads and mouths rose from behind the counter. "Bring the girl to me," it said. Chaos filled the room. Townspeople held pitchforks. People in robes and top hats held vegetable wands. Everyone seemed to be attacking each other. Idris had no idea what was going on or why this woman was dragging her to a monster. "Idris!" screamed Mr. Whitaker. "Put out the flames! Everyone stop! Idris!" The monster, Gorbobalopopkis, crossed in front of the sick child, being held by Luni with all of her strength. The woman held the girl up to the creature. "Please save her," she said. "Please." The monster's mouth began to open wide. "Blabbergiliosis!" Idris heard somebody shout. "No!" A man leapt in front of them. A spell rang out. A body fell to the floor. The monster swallowed Idris whole with one of its many mouths. From outside the beast she heard, "Leave the girl alone! Don't hurt her! Idris!" She knew that voice. "Put out the flames! Everyone stop!" her father said. Idris could not make out the other noises she was hearing from the room because the pain from within her began to disappear. There, within the belly of the creature, she was healed of her illness. She was spewed out of the monster onto the wet floor. Somehow it was raining in the room, but Idris did not care why this was. "Dad?" said the girl, looking at her father also on the floor, holding his shoulder. "Where am I? What happened to your shoulder?" "How?" Mr. Whitaker said, panting and groaning in pain. "She died. How is she?" "Taylor," Looney said. "Someone who outgave themselves more for love than I could. She's healed. She's okay." The girl ran to her father and threw her arms around him. "I was so scared." Months later, Rossart Middle School. Idris felt strange placing things back into the same locker she had cleared out years ago. To her, it felt like a few months, having been out of existence for 5 years. She had already realized that she would be in class with her former classmates' younger siblings. Life was weird, but she was glad to be living it. She had spent most of her time while waiting to be re-enrolled in school, volunteering at the Not a Magic Tea Shop magic dispensary. Though she was not sure how she felt about magic being real. The town had been on the news sites constantly with the Magic Council going public, and Idris was tired of talking about it. 2 girls showed up and began to clear out the lockers next to hers. "You must be my locker mates, huh?" Idris said. "Don't talk to us, Oathbreaker," one girl said. Idris did not understand her bitter words. Before she could ask, the girls had completely removed their belongings and vegetables they were keeping in their locker. They walked to the end of the hall where a janitor stood with 2 new locks. Behind him, through a window, Idris saw a white cat glaring at her. Idris looked around. The other kids looked at her, but not like before. Instead of looks of pity, there were looks of horror, as if they were witnessing a ghost standing in the room. Throughout her middle school and high school days, this did not change. Episode 2, The Uncreated Man. Not a Magic Tea Shop. 2029, 5 years later. "Move over, everyone. Out of my way. Give me my coffee before that guy, Idris." The monster, Gorbobalopopkis, pushed its way through the crowded magic dispensary. A man with a Navy SEAL hat, the next in line, frowned and crossed his arms. Evening light that had fell upon him seemed to sparkle. Idris prepared Gorbo's coffee and added 2 shots of espresso and a touch of cream. She reflected on how drastically her life had changed in the past few years, or however long it was. Things had started to feel surreal. The longer she worked at the tea shop / magic dispensary, the worse the feeling got. She also found it odd that she seemed to know more about the flowers and teas in the shop than some of the visiting wizards. Or Gladorians, as Idris later found out they're required to call everyone. You obviously can't go around calling yourself Wizards of the Coast without certain people getting upset. Years before, everyone knew magic wasn't real. Now, No other non-magic user knew as much as the 19-year-old shop hand. Well, next to Luni, of course. In truth, she might be one of the best latte artists on the coast. At least in her mind, anyways. She hung out making drinks for people, finding ways to cure strange magical illnesses. Like the man who had come in minutes before with around 15 chickens nudging around his heels. Idris had to explain the spells have consequences, and the cost of his spell had caused the chickens to have attachment anxiety tied to whoever cast them. She made him her special blend of milk tea, and the man relaxed. The chickens, now not anxious like their caster, wandered away. This should have made her feel proud to help those in need, but it didn't. Things had become very odd in her life, yet it didn't feel earned. She felt like a cheater and couldn't wash the feeling away. There was nothing she could do to change it. In a way, she had almost found peace at Novelton Ridge. "This isn't our age," the man in the Navy SEAL hat yelled. "We've been waiting in line for 20 minutes. Grubbo shrugged. "Look, I'm jealous you got to work with SEALs. They're so cute," the monster said. "But I'm in a hurry, and your little outburst here is costing me a lot of precious time. Do you know what I am? I'm a spice vampire. If I don't get my pumpkin spice latte soon, I'm going to start craving blood. Wait your turn." "Nah," Grubbo said. The man shook his fist. "Someone should teach you a lesson, you nasty thing. You act like you can do whatever you want." Grubbo took a sip of coffee in one mouth, but made a slurping sound with all of its other mouths. "I can totally do whatever I want. Don't make Idris use my forbidden carrot wand on you." Idris sighed. Luni always made sure to remind her to never use the moldy carrot wand, the one that Grubbo had crafted to help Luni and Taylor send Barry Dick Nine to the void. Sure, non-coastal magic users could cast with only the carrot wand without powers, but at what cost? She had heard it a million times before. She would never need to use it. The man rolled down his long sleeves and got into a boxing stance. "Let's solve this right now. You walk around acting like you can cure cancer or something." Idris walked from behind the counter. The room fell silent. The man in the hat looked around at the people with their heads hung low. "Grubbo can cure cancer," Idris said casually. "Here you go, you magic mutation from hell. Hope you're not too late for your appointment at the Children's Hospital." Grubbo waved one hand, saluted with another, and then all the other hands gave her a thumbs up. "See you later, Idris, my fellow sin against nature." The man in the Navy SEAL's hat leapt out of the monster's way. Everyone else in the packed store stepped aside, so Grubbo below Popka's path was clear to the door. 101 Main Street, Whispers Bay. Lost in her thoughts, she tugged at her dozens of beaded bracelets around her wrist while closing the front doors of the Not a Magic tea shop. She bid the people setting up tents on the sidewalk for the next day's opening goodbye, then ducked into a small path between the dispensary and the shop next door. It led into a parking lot. She expected to walk up the grassy hills to her home in the timber near the shoreline. Her night was to end quietly, alone, like every night. She couldn't wait for it to begin. At first, the never-ending working at the shop had been rewarding. The extra hours testing tea effects had been exciting. Now, years later, she clocked out the moment she could. She knew that she was at another crossroad of her life. Idris worked with the world's most expert herbologist. She was sought after for that reason. After she graduated high school, and only a few days ago, she received a full-ride scholarship to the secret magic college of Hogsnor. Not as a student, but as a teacher. A non-magic user be teaching a magic class. This was unheard of even in the coastal circles. Idris had a bright future ahead of her if she wanted it. Problem was, she didn't. She felt like she'd be added to the college's freak show collection, put behind glass for everyone to see their expert soul-bounded magic tea maker. She wasn't a giraffe. A young man appeared out of nowhere, grabbing her arm. His face was pale as an onion and his lips quivered. This did not seem the type of fan who drove from the other side of the country to get a picture of Grobobolo Popkus. Please, he pleaded. He unbuttoned his dress shirt cuff, folding back the blue sleeve to reveal 2 bite marks. Some people pay a lot of money for that, Idris said. Stay out of my personal space. I don't repeat myself. She tried to pass him in the alleyway, but there was not enough space between the buildings. He stood firm, shaking his bitten arm. I have urges. I can't stop, he said. Idris gave him a glare. The same kind someone would get from a fast food worker if they had just ordered a large order minutes before closing. She changed directions to head back towards the main street, into the light where she could be seen by the shop campers. I feel so burned out, I should care. But I don't, Idris thought. Can't be like this. I have a duty to the tailor, to the shop. The cure isn't effective sometimes until the 3rd dose, Idris finally said. Take another treatment, stay away from loved ones and anyone you've ever wanted to buy for fun, and you should be fine with the cinnamon boost and an extra whip. Unless you get urges to howl, then that's a different bag of tea. She felt his hand on her shoulder as he drew closer. She yanked at a bracelet. It snapped off her wrist like the crack of a firecracker. The world around them shook. Waves of frogs fell from the sky, filling the alley with amphibians. What part of my instructions was not clear? Idris asked. I'm not a space vampire, he yelled as he threw frogs down the alley. She turned back, holding a nearby trash can lid to shield herself from the falling non-stop frogs, each one letting out a ribbit before splattering on the ground. You've taken the swift treatment for vampirism, and that stopped the glittering but not the cravings? Who bit you? To her surprise, the man cried. I know not. It happened outside the New Spinner's Pizza. I don't know how to stop hurting people. The only one who can help me. The sky cleared. They stood in the alley, listening to the laughs coming from the crowd camping in front of the store, laughing at the insane amount of frogs on the 101 Main Street. You're telling me someone is going around attacking random people. Who are you? Idris asked. The man stepped forward, sticking out his chest. Kurt, stop playing with me. Tell me what I am, he said in a growl. Monsters are not my area of expertise. It's a Braylon, the shop owner thing, Idris said, witnessing the man's surprised expression. I don't know. Call the shop and leave your info. Get to someplace far away from people you care about until I know what to do. You need to go find this thing, he said. That's what you people at the shop don't understand. Not everything can be healed with flowers and good wishes. Idris frowned. Hearing the words good wishes sent chills down her spine, bringing up memories of well-meaning get-well cards and gifts. I do not hunt. Do as I say. I'll see what I can do, and then I'll call for you. Mr. Fingerhopper's house, night. When Idris needed anything dark or occult, she knew to go to Mr. Fingerhopper. He was a frequent customer at the magic dispensary, since he transforms into a wolf every morning if he doesn't come in. Though he worked at a library reading books to children most of the time, he specialized in personalized abnormal book requests. He's the sort of person who keeps a few copies of the Book of the Dead around for his guests to read in the bathroom. However, that night, no one came to the door when Idris rang. Mr. Fingerhopper stayed up at all hours of the night, so this struck her as odd. She checked the door and found it locked. Fingerhopper? She called out, entering the house. If you missed your anti-morning werewolf treatment, howl 3 times. No howls came. She looked around, checking under piles of magic spells and cookbooks, just in case he had become trapped in a spell and Spinner's pizza box avalanche like he had a few weeks before. Dealing with the occult always comes with unintended consequences. The effects of a curse sometimes do not take place until years later, so there was always the threat of random junk avalanches happening at the house. Excuse me. She heard an annoyed voice from the top of a bookshelf in the dining room. A white cat squinted at her, its hair tipped with the color black. You don't live here. I didn't know Fingerhopper had a cat. Where is he? Idris asked, approaching the creature. Are you freeing me from my existence? The cat asked. If you aren't, I don't understand why you think I should care about whatever you asked. Something, and the feline looked off. Other than the talking cat thing. It's the tip of its hair that made Idris recognize what it was. Oh, you're a magic transmutation, like Robolo Popka's. Look at us, sins against nature, rocking out alongside each other. You know not what I am, the cat said. I insist you leave at once, or I will call the police. Idris smirked at this and crossed her arms. All right, call the police on me. Pick up that phone for your little paws. The cat stared. I find your manners insensitive, and your existence intolerable. Mr. Fingerhopper is away with Ludi for something or another. I don't find you adorable, Idris deadpanned. I have a college quarterback with some bite marks. Says he has some cravings that he's fed on others. Bite marks. Cravings. It sounds normal for a college football, the cat said. No, it's not that, Idris said. This could be new, an unidentified strain that doesn't have a craving transfer treatment yet. If this spreads fast, it could be bad. I need to identify what kind of horror this is. The creature coughed up a hairball. I'm a cat. Do you even live here? Mr. Fingerhopper always had strange animals around. Most of the time, they were supposed to be there. I saw that one time with the light bulb demon really awakened from a 100-year slumber. It took the two of them an entire evening to capture it. The cat said nothing. It did not move, nor did it blink. There was a long, awkward silence before the cat said, I'm looking for something. Cows, I just asked. Everyone's always looking for cows, but a house is a weird place to look for those. Let's meet halfway. I help you find whatever it is, and you help me figure out where to start hunting vampires or whatnot. Well, our goals are almost aligned. So close yet not, the cat said. Oh, the toil of the living is one the taboo. They don't suck up to me like I hear they do to you, though. The Stage 4 club disbanded, I just said. You need a can of tuna opened or something before I leave? How dare you, the cat said. You of all people should understand the life that I am doomed to live. I challenge you to a duel to retain my honor. But we shall rain check that fight until further time. I will take my leave. Good day. People don't suck up to me, I just said. You want me to be something different from what I am. I have a debt to pay. I don't know how to pay it back. Crieth me a river, and I shall bring my rowboat. You with such sorrow. Everyone has a destiny, if they like it or not. Yours is coming soon, I fear. The creature vanished into a stack of books. She shrugged off the strange cat encounter and searched the rest of the house, but found nothing more but pizza boxes. While shifting through things, like discounted chew toys, Idris noticed they had changed the design of the pizza box since she and Luni had last eaten there. The new Spinner's Pizza and Nightclub logo was bland, and the giant sticker took up most of the box. This red sticker read in all caps, Garlic Free. Spinner's used to be known for its garlic butter crust. Why would the new owners change something so popular? Perhaps they were cutting costs, but something about this did not feel right. The only other reason for a well-liked recipe would be that one had an issue with the ingredients. She learned after a quick call that Spinner's is now open all night. Before ending the call, she asked the woman working on the other end of the phone if she could speak with a manager. When asked why, she replied, I would like to know what your store's association is with the undead. Spinner's Pizza and Dance Club. Asterix. No garlic allowed. The DJ reached across the lit-up mixing table, handing Idris a slice of cheese and jalapenos. She took it, but she set it down a few moments later. The sub-bass rumbled so loud that Idris could feel it in her toes, the tune being one from a group called Three Doors Across and Over by a Block. Several of the dancers were pale-skinned, but most were normal-looking people enjoying their time after work. DJ screamed over the bass drop. Smoke rose from around the dance floor. Lights flashed into colorful display. The row of singing fish heads, a famous staple of their former location, still hung on the wall, now repaired, looking as good as new. Idris missed the old location near the shop. Sometimes when either Idris or Looney felt down, they would close the store, long enough to enjoy a slice of pizza and stroll in Arcadia Park before reopening. Looney, of course, would pay, and this irked Idris that someone still had to take care of her after all these years. Things weren't the same at the new location, not with all the garlic is a sin signs plastered all over. There would not be the same kind of comforts here as she had expected in the past. The world in front of her disappeared. She could see nothing but black and thick smoke. Of course, Idris knew what this was. Transportation spell. When it cleared, she found herself sitting in front of a large oak desk, lit by only a lava lamp. A safety inspection notice was framed next to the window, which was drawn shut. The place smelled of tomatoes, iron, and onions. The lava lamp erupted, breaking the glass and sending its inside splattering across the walls. Idris ducked and covered her head. A match was struck, and a candle was lit. "Oh, don't worry about that," a voice said. "It's sugar glass and cornstarch. Something has to break in order for the spell to work. Spell consequences and all. Welcome to the new Spinner's Pizza and Nightclub." The chair spun around. A man with a handle mustache that seemed to always be waving to her smiled. He winked before saying, "I am Mr. Todd the Genie, owner, non-garlic pizza lover. I understand you were inquiring about our association with the undead." "Well," I just said, "I saw 5 level 2 spice vampires out there dancing with some normals. I know your association. Kurt, quarterback from the college, 2 bite marks, deep, triangular, and thin. Not like backbites. The swift treatment doesn't work. Whatever attacked this man is unlike anything I've ever seen. I need help finding out what kind of vampire is attacking people in Whispers Bay. Does this pizza shop have anything to do with people getting attacked?" "We are open to everyone 21 and above. I'm not pleased that I'm being questioned like this. We have no asides at Spinner's Pizza," Mr. Tottagini said. "You give out ranch in a cup. That is a side," Idris said. "I'm not looking for trouble. If this is a new strain of vampirism..." "Impossible!" Mr. Tottagini stood to his feet. "The swift treatment cured it for everyone, except those who do not partake of the pumpkin spice for religious reasons." "When's attacking anyone?" Idris said. The man sat back down. "I only now remembered. Yeah, the young man attacked by the theater and next to a shop. I've heard people are dealing with it. You know how these lower life forms are. Now that sort of thing would be dealt with in-house, I would imagine." "Wow. You're giving off some vibes," Idris said. "So the Vampire Council, or whatever, is looking for who did it but haven't found them. Hard to believe, even for a spice vampire. I'm here to help." "No one said anything about the Vampire Council being real," the mustache man said, "or that I was ahead of it." "One said that now." "I hope you enjoyed the cheese and jalapeno," the man said. "As for anything else, I just cooked the dough. Go somewhere else. Because if this strain is new, It was created elsewhere than town. Leave us and our patrons in peace. You and the shop should honor those who do not want to partake of the swift treatment. Not be in such a hurry that dump magic on everything. Come back for the breadsticks, but don't come back asking questions, or else there will be consequences. The not head of a vampire council rapped his knuckles on the desk, seeming to Idris that he wanted her to leave. Your pizza oven isn't hot enough to melt that awful Northern Oregon Coast pizza cheese your store is using. Drizzle olive oil over that bad girl and the cheese will melt. The man stood to his feet, both of his fists clenched. Idris stood calmly. Don't give me cooking advice. Your choice has been made then, he said. Our doors are always open. The call is 1 a.m. on the weekends. Dignine Mansion. If the strain of vampirism was not created by the spice vampires, then Idris knew who the most likely suspect was. After 15 minutes, she found her way inside an unlocked bathroom window of the mansion. The property facing the ocean sat untouched. It had ever since Taylor sent Barry to the void 5 years before. Before Idris knew of magic and vegetable wands, she didn't know the place existed. When everything the Galorian had done came to light, the town locked away Dicknine's property. Idris wondered, while walking through the giant stone hallways, who would decorate their house with statues of themselves. The gold furniture and hand-woven rugs seemed over the top even for rich people. Looking back, Idris was thankful she only had one interaction with Barry Dicknine. In one of his experiments, in an attempt to break free of his own soul bond, Taylor's parents had their souls and identities stripped. Joined with 18 other attacking members of the Not Barry Society, that's what created Grobobolo Popkus. Having her hair taken was weird, but that was worse. After wandering through the enormous building, she found the library and flipped the light. A red glow rose from the floorboards, revealing several rows of scrolls and old books. Her first thought was Fingerhopper would have a field day if he were there. They had once considered breaking into the mansion until Luni found out about their plot and put an end to it. She took the staircase by a fireplace up to the second floor. A section of the upstairs library contained a section marked only with the black dot. The binding of the book was made of animal skin. She hoped it was animal skin anyway. She thumbed through a few of the Dicknine collection, looking for anything that might be useful. Within the cover, she found dark magic spells and chants, but nothing relating to the undead. Idris found little of use, until she came across an odd title in the middle of the row, The Secret Garden, a classic novel, whose movie adaptation has been shown to every student in America before summer break for a very long time. When she tried to pull the book out, a sharp mechanical sound rang out. The floor rotated under her feet, and the light from the room bent in a circle around her. The air left her, and she fell from where she stood, sending her down the never-ending shaft. When she came to, she was face down in the dirt next to a shovel. After Idris had cried out the specks of dirt trapped in her eyes, she realized she was no longer in the library. She lay somewhere in a central courtyard, surrounded by a circular wall. Next to her was a box cart filled with dead plants. She looked around. She could see a light illuminating the train car. When she entered the structure, she found on a shelf something she had never seen before. Flowers with a middle that resembled a black human-like skull. Mushrooms grew along the roots of the plant. Red petals with black tips fell from the flower. That is amazing, Idris thought, reaching for it. I've never seen anything like it. This isn't a Western plant. She felt an icy hand on her back. She turned to face Kirk, who smiled back at her. Another man joined him, another football player. You help me, only you can save me, Kurt mocked. You are so weak. I'm not thirsting for blood. Get up and face the garden wall. Idris did as she was told. She listened as the two men approached her from behind. Her eyes darted to the shovel below her. Drain half of her, and save the rest for when the uncreated man gets here, Kurt told the other player. What did you say? Idris asked. You've heard of Uncree, Kurt said, shoving her into the wall. The creation so foul that his caster tried to take back his creation. They called him the uncreated man, and your soul is going to heal him beyond what you can imagine. She felt the man's warm breath on the back of her neck. His mouth opened, his fangs touched her skin. Idris ripped a bracelet off her wrist. This caused a wave of sound that knocked everyone back. Like a techno song on the dance floor, the waves kept pulsating over and over. Idris tried to stand, but she and the other two men kept being dragged down by the force of the music. She reached for the shovel. Kurt's hand met hers. They fought, trying to find their footing. Kurt took a hold and swung at her, hitting her ribs. She kneeled over in pain. Kurt circled her and spoke. Nice bracelets. He swung at her arms. She moved, but the edge of the shovel nicked her. Something in her ribs snapped. Idris winced. Go ahead. Finish me. My soul bond's gonna return to my place. Taylor will gladly stake you through the heart. What? You out of bracelets? Kurt asked. No. I have one left, but I didn't want to use it. Idris looked at the boxcar. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. She ripped the bracelet from her wrist. Flames erupted from the ground, catching the two men within. They yelled as Idris felt around for the weapon. She found it and followed the sound of the screams. During the pain, she opened her eyes and stabbed Kurt in the chest with the end of the shovel. He let out a primordial cry before turning into a floating blue dust. Idris recognized this from her experience from the cheese shop. This happens when a soul is being held captive. This vampire was creating vampire clones of people it bit. What are you? She said to the last remaining man, still engulfed in magic flames. I am one of the dragon weapons. Hello, everyone. You can let me, but we are only going to get stronger. The Vampire Council is going to defeat you. Okay, your voice is annoying. Go back to your sleeper. I just drove the handle of the shovel through the vampire clone's heart, turning the creature into blue dust. Smoke rose from the boxcar. The flowers, she shouted. She reached inside and broke the thick stems of a handful of skull flowers. Everything around her burst into flames. With the plant on her arm, she ran back to the circle where she had lifted the book. In an instant, she was returned to standing in the library. Later, not a magic tea shop. Idris called for a messenger owl while she attended to her wounds at the front counter of the shop. The owl arrived after a while, but seemed only to be interested in making it known that she was part of the union now. I need to get word to Looney and Mr. Fingerhopper right away. Whatever this is, it's gonna get a lot worse. The owl shook its head. Then you are gonna have to wait until my holiday ends. I'll be glad to take your delivery first thing for a fee, but I'm not doing anything till then. Might be too late. That's it. I'm on my own, Idris said, crossing to the window. The moon lit the misty forest outside the shop, enough to see a figure standing in the middle of the street. He wore a tweed suit and a white mask. His forehead looked deformed, unnatural. His arms seemed sewn on and did not match his skin tone. The man stared back up at her. Well, that's certainly the point of being in a union, isn't it? The owl said, headed for the door. No one tells us what to do anymore, not without paying us for it. Idris withdrew from sight from the window. The man left, limping into the darkness, leaving Idris feeling uneasy, still peering out into the dark street. It's not safe here, said the owl. The tourists keep going missing. People are pointing fingers at each other all over the place. Somebody should do something about it. If you send my message, maybe I could help, Idris said. But I'm on holiday. You don't seem to understand the work-life balance. If you work hard, you gotta play hard, the owl said. Idris filled a vase with water and placed the skull flowers in it. Instantly, the water disappeared as soon as it touched the stem of the plant. Fine. I'll hunt these horrors on my own. Episode 3, Tap Dance. What do you mean Kurt is missing his kidney? I just asked, closely inspecting the real body of Kurt, sleeping in his hospital bed. He was pale, but not as pale as his vampire clone had been. The nurse said that she had witnessed some color in his skin return about the time that Idris staked his magic clone. If you're asking me to repeat what you overheard me say in the hallway, you can forget it, the nurse scoffed. She shotgunned a can of iced coffee, with drink dripping off her chin. Idris might have mistaken her for a vampire if she had not been a nurse. This, of course, is common, which the two share many similarities. Having looked over Taylor's books and personal things, she knew that nursing people were different. Learning about Taylor's life after she had been sent to the void had been fascinating. Fearing the backlash of her actions and the flea Dick Nine, Taylor fled to live with her family in southern New Mexico. She did not return to Whispers Bay until after graduation. After finding her own true calling in being a nurse, likely in an attempt to find a way to cure Idris. So, I just wondered if she should take offense to this nurse's rudeness. It didn't matter either way. Are there others like this? Idris asked her. There's a HIPAA violation waiting to happen, the nurse said. Look, I've been on shift for 11 hours, and I'm staying on a few extra because of things going on. Are you done asking questions? Kirk's eyes were closed, and the Idris he'd looked pained, peaceful. Not the troubled person his magic husk had been. Not the beast she had fought. The longer she looked at the athlete, the more she remembered her own illness. She wondered if that's how she looked when she slept, when death crept at her back door. The thought was sickening. There had to be a way to make his hurting stop. No, they got you staying after that long of a shift, well, I can figure that out for myself. That's all for now. Don't complain if I come back. Wouldn't dream of it, Yo-Yo, the nurse said. Don't call me Yo-Yo. People like you make me sick, the nurse replied. If the shoe fits, go tap dancing. The nurse motioned for her to exit the room. Idris picked up a card that sat next to a basket of flowers on the counter. It read, from Sunset Baptist Church. She had to get out of the room, away from the sights and sounds of the hospital. Each intercom buzz and beep felt as if she were being dragged back closer to death, where she felt she belonged. Whispers Bay Community College, afternoon. The whistle blew. A group of students sat in the bleachers, hardly watching football practice. The wideouts hadn't caught a pass in the thick of fog all practice. The linemen hadn't even started their first warm-ups after 20 minutes. Students wore shirts with Team Kurt written on them. What would they have thought about the vampire-like clone of Kurt? The one who had intended to drain Idris the night before. Would the students still be wearing t-shirts if they knew? Isn't Brad so dreamy? She heard a college student behind her say. The student approached. That's not my bag of chips, Idris bluntly said. He's second-string quarterback, but he has a chance of Kurt in the hospital, the college student said. I'd catch some passes from that. You're the girl from the tea shop, the one that sells potions and hangs out with the Gobolo thing, right? You beat death at a chess game or something. Did her question have a point? Idris asked. My name is Eden. I'm a freshman. Girl sat next to her. Pads clunked together. A ball was kicked high into the sky, towards the wrong end zone. The head coach on the sideline plopped to the ground in tears. Another coach approached and bent down. He gently tapped the man in a deep state of a panic attack. Come on, coach. We're still better than the Arizona Cardinals, the coach said. She stood and observed a sizable crowd that had gathered to view the athletes trying to perform. Because if you are that person, you must be here to look into that strange magic going on with Kurt, she said. Since you're one of those weird magic people, there's more than a few men on the team with bite marks, and I don't mean mine. Idris turned to her in annoyance. You're one of those vampire groupies. What's a girl like you chasing fangs like that? Don't you have a trust fund to blow? My therapist thinks it's deep-rooted. Definitely some manic in there somewhere. I'm at peace with my demons. We nap together and go out for ice cream sometime. I don't even think you know that you have demons. But if you're looking for into who attacked Kurt and who took his body parts, I was told to tell you to go to the Black Box Theater tonight. Someone in the Fang Club will get you backstage. Idris shook her head. I think not. I met a few with ragamuffins last night. I didn't care for their company. I heard you were asking around, Eden said. These are not types you want to disappoint. Not unless you're into that kind of thing, like I am. With, consent, though. An old car with the Spinner's Pizza logo fitted on top pulled into the stadium parking lot. Several people approached the vehicle. Idris and Eden watched as the man driving handed off the pizza box to the first person he could reach, then motioned for another person to get in the car. A college-aged man did as the driver asked. This is bigger than you think, Eden said, as the Spinner's Pizza delivery car sped away. Tonight, be backstage at the Black Box Theater before the play starts. There's someone there who wants to talk to you. Black Box Theater dressing room, 1A evening. The white cat with frosted black tips licked its paws on the makeup table. The bright lights in the room made Idris feel like she had gone snowblind. Other actors put on makeup and warming up with seemingly ridiculous vocal exercises, such as the girl next to them who kept saying, I'm a big lion, as loud as she could before whispering, now I'm a little lion, repeatedly, over and over. She hadn't seen anything as silly since her Make-A-Wish night with the Portland Trailblazers. Rip City lost 120-40 to the Lakers that night. Is this a joke? Idris asked. You're the cat I talked with at Fingerhoppers. The clean horse fell in the mud. That's a joke. Sorry if it was a dirty one, the cat said, inspecting his claws. You spoke with Spinner's Pizza's new owner. They seem to have taken my side after you talked with them. I thank you for your work. You should consider working for me. You're a ragamuffin. You're associated with these suckers? Idris asked. The cat flicked its tail, stood up, and spun in a circle. I am a cultured person, and known in several social circles. Trust me, do yourself no favors burning bridges. Cut to the chase. What are you trying to tell me? Idris said. Oh, poor move, sport, the cat said, walking to the script nearby. It looked over its lines for the evening's performance. Ever heard of the art of war? Sun Tzu said, must one know their enemy better than they know themselves? You must study me, as I have studied you all these years, through school and beyond, walking among the stray cats and the snuffer-clad spies. Arrogance is such a waste, don't you agree? I don't have time to sit around looking at tea leaves. Are you saying you're my enemy or what? I just asked. The cat leapt down at her feet and rammed its head into her ankles. Do you want to be my enemy? Under the cherry blossoms, there are no strangers. But I can be whatever you make of me. Who are you? For realsies. Idris backed away. You can call me Langhorn, the cat said. That is one of many names of which I am called. There is one I am called more commonly, however. Idris tried to exit through the door, but the actor practicing the lion exercises stepped in front of her. She turned back. The white cat with black kissed hair glared at her, seemingly with an unnatural smile. I am the uncreated man. Idris grabbed at her wrist, but she had no more magic bracelets remaining. Before she could realize what was going on, the creature leapt on her. She fell, hitting the wall with the back of her head. Before the world went dark, and before she lost consciousness, she heard the cat speak. Excuse me, Himoto. I have a crowd to entertain. I'll deal with you soon enough. Big lion, little lion, big lion, an actor went on preparing as if no one else was in the room. Feeding house. Evening. Wake up! You don't want to miss this. Idris wasn't sure whose voice she heard as she regained consciousness. When her vision returned, she realized she was tied up alongside Eden, the woman who had approached her at the football practice hours before. Idris noticed bloodstains on the shag carpet inches away from her face. Outside the room, there was a multitude of beeping and buzzing. No, I'm good, Idris said, trying to break her hands free from her bonds. The rope was too sturdy to budge. We are so lucky we got picked, Eden said, moving closer to Idris, sounding more like she was at a slumber party than having been kidnapped. You have to have the right blood type, and everything has to be chosen. I knew my chances would be better if I talked to you like they asked me to. I can't thank you enough. This is the best day of my life. The attacks aren't random. Idris gave up and sat with her back against the wall. If only this would have happened to me ages ago, Eden said. Everyone is carefully chosen and consents. I sure as hell am not consenting right now. The room's only door creaked open. The white cat with black-tipped hair walked in. I do admit, Langhorn said, an all-cat version of Hamlet is distasteful, but the turnout is always wonderful. You missed an outstanding performance, Idris. I was all tied up, she said. Why are there two of us here? That's a lot of blood for one vampire. Eden scooted alongside Idris and gave her a slight jab in the ribs with her elbow. Don't ruin this for me. In front of them, the cat morphed into a man in his 20s, wearing a white tweed suit covered in black powder. He was the figure Idris saw from the window from the tea shop the night before. Yet his mask had hidden his deformed face then. The gasp that came from Idris' lips could not be helped as she looked upon the man. He looked frail, as if he could pass out at any moment. But the claw-like weapon he wore at his left hand looked sharp. I need to recover. The man unrolled the sleeves on his arms. What was left of his forearm was flesh and bone, held together by pieces of magic. So are we doing this together, or is she watching, or how does this work? Eden asked. The beast of a man tilted his head at hearing this. You do know you're being drained so that I may heal myself with your blood. You understand that, right? That's hot, Eden said. I have plans for Idris. A grand finale, so to speak. For now, I ask for your consent for me to place my fangs upon your neck to feed. Yes, Eden shouted. The uncreated man bit the woman, who smiled. Idris watched as Eden turned purple. When he had finished with her, he stood up. His arm was healed, appearing normal. Eden's arm, however, was missing. His victim lay on the floor, breathing, but in a deep sleep like the other she had seen in the feeding house. A purple cloud of dust rose from her body and reformed itself into an identical copy of the bitten woman. The person, now looking exactly like Eden had when she was awake, nodded at the man. She left the room. You literally feed on people to stay alive, Idris said, backing herself into the corner of the room. That's called living. Yes, Langhorn said, crossing to her. Still walking with a limp, every step caused him pain. Idris could see this on his face. But you're living on borrowed time yourself. Your existence here means Taylor is in the void. Does it not? How do you not feed on her existence? That is all this is. Everyone eating each other in one way or another. That is not what we are, Idris said. This is a good town of good people. They opened up magic to the entire world. My soul bond has nothing to do with it. The Gladorians refused to help when I needed it. No, the magic community has shunned us. You included. You know this to be true. That is why I am here, to make things better. But you can't see it yet, though. Untie me, Idris demanded. Langhorn drew closer. Don't you understand? I need you. You need to stop hurting people. You need to get out of the bay. Come. The croaking raven doth bellow for revenge. Uncree opened his mouth and moved the feet on her. She kicked a chair, flipping it on top of the uncreated man. The ropes around her wrists finally loosened. Before she could do anything, the vampire clone of Eden entered back into the room. Langhorn lunged towards her, with his fangs revealed. Idris grabbed the back of Eden's head and used her momentum to drive her fangs into the monster's shoulder. The uncreated man cried out. Eden tried to say with her mouth full of person and clothing. The uncreated man struck Idris, who did not run fast enough away. His claw-like weapon cut into her side. She did not cry, but she used the pain to sprint out of the room. There, at the front of the house, she saw row after row of sleeping people stacked on top of each other. Too many for her to count. All of them pale, some missing arms and leg. The numbers were staggering. Holding her side, she hurried outside. She ran, stumbling towards a well-lit spot along the 101 Main Street. Not a magic tea shop, supply closet lay. Those are the nastiest rib injuries I've ever helped you recover from. Grobopolopopkas had spit Idris out from one of his many mouths, healing her evolved her wounds. At first, using another sin against nature as a doctor had felt odd, but Grobo seemed to understand much more than the nurse practitioner of the house complex had. In the years she had returned from the void, she had been lucky to work in the same shop as the creature, or 20 souls combined into one monster, rather. Creature spent all of its time going from hospital to hospital, getting children with cancer and terminal illnesses, then spitting them back up perfectly healthy, of course. Grobo understood his place, and it felt refreshing to be around someone with stability. A shape-shifting, body part-stealing vampire thing is creating an army of followers to take over the bay. Idris put her leather jacket back on. She wrung Grobopolopopkis's spit out of her hair over at the edge of a lake. The monster shook its head and flailed some of its arms about. Are you sure it's a vampire? I cannot cure that kind of magic. My abilities are more natural healing. There's nothing I can do to return the victim's soul to their bodies. They don't have time to fight an army either. I have places to be. I don't know how to defeat it, Idris said. First of all, in cat form, he can follow me anywhere I go. I'm a herbologist, Grobopolopopkis. I'm not a hunter. But I have to do this. I have to stop Uncree before he takes over. I feel like an ant, trying to push a slice of watermelon up a hill. There has to be a better way. Grobopolopopkis placed one of its arms around Idris. You got it. If you could handle rush hour at the shop, you can handle a body-stealing vampire. Maybe take some items with you next time, in case you have to fight Puss in Boots again. No time, Idris said, heading up the hill to the door leading back to the shop. I thought I found the spice vampire's hive at the piece of place. I don't think that's their lair. Maybe the spicers might help me. Be careful, Idris. I don't think your yo-yo curse would mix well with becoming undead. Things get dangerous when mixing dark magic like that. I know, Grobo. I know. If I can find a way to cut off support for the ragamuffins, that might cut off the uncreated man's supply. I don't know where they'll look. When I feel lost, I always turn to my local church, the Sin Against Nature said. Take a spike. There's this abandoned tract not far from the lake, near the knotted tea shop basement. I'd take that spike with you, no matter where you go. Episode 4. The Least of These. Sunset Baptist Church. Evening. A man of dread screamed into the pulpit mic. The drummer on stage banged on his double bass and snare drums. The guitar distortion blared towards the congregation of pale churchgoers. My God is in control, the man screamed, his head banging violently. I just stood in the aisle between the wooden pews, dumbstruck from the sight of worshipping vampires. People held on the Bibles as they listened, bobbing their heads along and flipping through the pages. The hymnal ended. An old man with gray hair stood in a thrift store suit and tie who walked to the pulpit, and after embracing the worship leader with a hug, addressed the church. Idris felt her railroad spike attached to her belt as she sat down. Thank you for the wonderful song. As I always say, any song unto the Lord is a good song. Can I get an amen? The congregation screamed, Amen, back in a death metal scream. Before I dismiss you all, I wanted to remind you that there will be a breakfast prayer meeting tomorrow at 6 a.m. The room fell silent. Y'all can walk around in the daylight. You can make it the prayer breakfast, the preacher scolded. Still, the awkward silence would not leave the room. Finally, the man shook his head before going on with his closing remarks. Those of you who need to take communion can stay after. For the rest, there will be refreshments in the fellowship hall. Lastly, I would like to welcome someone if they aren't too bashful. Idris over there. Folks, how about the girl given a second chance at life? If I can't get a single hallelujah, then I don't know what we are even doing here. The congregation erupted in cheers and hallelujahs. Idris did not react. Well, I am glad that you are here, the preacher went on, and I welcome the chance to speak to you. You fellow ragamuffins are dismissed. To Idris' shock, the churchgoers began to shake her hand and welcome her. A few of the faces she recognized, one even being a classmate from years ago. They were not the bitten either. Some were spice vampires, untreated. Others seemed mortal, and there for the uplifting music and the strong community outreach program. I just knew the church donated to Whisper Bay events and charities, even sending out checks after a fire had swept through years before. How could a place like this be supporting something like the uncreated man? Pastor Branson. I just waved the man down as she walked towards him. Can we talk? Pastor's office. The framed cow photos hanging on the wall might have been the strangest thing Idris had ever seen. He had hung row upon row of them, along with photos of him holding up large cups, standing next to cattle with sponsored saddles on them. Gold medals were hung all over the walls. Idris touched the red frame of one of these pictures. In the photo, the preacher looked happier to her. Now he looked emotionally drained, like her. Now, sweetheart, the only weapon you need here is Jesus, he said, pointing to her railroad spike. He leaned back in his desk chair. We ain't that kind of Southern Baptist church. I've been jumped a few times by members of your group. Why are you supporting this uncreated man? I just asked, taking a seat on an old sofa facing the preacher's cluttered desk. I am the pastor of the church. I do not support anyone one way or another. My job's not telling people how to think. That's how you get your tax exemption pulled now. I'm the shepherd. Idris laughed at this. There's a lot of missing sheep out here lately, preacher. I've seen a house full of them, stacked on top of each other like Pringles. This creature has to be getting help somewhere, needing to regenerate as much as he does. And here you are, a church full of money and resources. What are you getting in return? Who do you think you are, Julie Royce? preacher said. Always I have helped everyone who has needed it. I'm not the kind of person who would just go about getting people hurt willy-nilly. I think we can all come to some sort of agreement. You give the uncreated man what he wants, and we all live in peace. Now, that's an easy way of putting it. It's not complicated. It's complex, you see. What does uncreated want? She asked. The preacher shrugged. If you ask me what John 3:16 is, I could do that for you. Anything dealing with Barry and his experiments is out of my ballpark. Barry created Langhorn, and that is what we have going on here. I work with the Vampire Council, you see, and all their different vampires and monsters hiding in the bay. The entire city is healing, and I'm doing what Langhorn says is best. That's a firm no from me, preacher. Idris got up from her seat. I found it hard to believe Jesus would be thrilled about any of this. The preacher smiled. Jesus is in the loving monster business. In fact, I don't think Jesus would be too happy seeing all these sorts of homeless people starving and diving on the streets. But things have got to change. You've seen all the pain in this town. The magic people sat by for years, with the power to heal locked away, saved only for social status. We need to abolish this entire system, like Jesus would have wanted. And only you can do it, no matter what it takes. If you do not agree to what he wants, the town is going to look down upon you more so than they do already. And from what I hear, you ain't no Dan Matthews. Are there waffles at the prayer breakfast? Idris asked. No, toast, muffins, coffee, the preacher said. That's a no-go for me as well. Get some sunlight, preacher. I'll do you some good. Whisper Bay streets off the 101, morning. She walked in the roaming mist for hours, looking for any sign of the ragamuffins or their feeding houses. After walking the entire length of the town, she doubled back. There had to be something somewhere. The Sunset Baptist Church parking lot remained empty, and Mr. Fingerhopper's home was void of strange new pets. Orchidia Park contained nothing but songs of nesting seagulls. Something this big could not remain this quiet in a place so small. Yet it had, somehow. A scream came from behind her. She turned and saw two figures hovering towards her in the fog. Another scream rang out. Idris readied her railroad spike. In front of her on a scooter, a 13 or 14-year-old boy's knees buckled as he started to hyperventilate at the sight of an adult holding a weapon. I'm sorry, I won't do it again, please. Don't hurt me, the kid yelled. Another boy in a tricked-out bike not far behind him shouted, Get away from him, you monster! I just returned the spike to her waistband. The mist grew thicker around her as the kids ran off in a panic, leaving her in the middle of the street. She had been called a monster to her face. Everyone else seemed to only tap dance around it. How can I fight the monster if everyone thinks that monster is me? She thought. A raven cawed nearby at hearing the sound of an engine. Idris ducked behind a tree so she could not be seen by Mr. Toddachini, who drove by in a Spinner's pizza delivery car. She waited and watched Mr. Toddachini and another man carry the large body-shaped wrapped objects into the house. When they left and she felt that she had not been seen while watching them in the mist, she entered the unlocked house. Feeding house, number 5. The sleepers were stacked on top of each other on wooden boards throughout the entire house. From the bathroom to the kitchen, Idris found slumbering people who had been bitten by the uncreated man. Some missing arms or more. Every time she looked, she found more people in the room than she had last seen, like trying to count hay barrels in a crowded field. She could feel a cold breeze drift in from the open window in the living room, giving a little relief to the heat from all the people. If this isn't their only house, I just thought, how many vampire clones do they have now? How many has this creature hurt? I can't fight an entire army by myself. A door on the other side of the house opened. Idris hid herself among the sleepers in the back bedroom of the house. Do you know what the best part of this job is? She heard the sound of footsteps approaching. Not having to work in an office, another man said. That and the pay is great. I was about to steal an RV and move to New Mexico and cook drugs, but then that Pastor Branson guy offered me this job. Now I'm clean. My bills are paid and we're helping out those in need. How lucky are we? Wonder how that Branson guy made all of his money. The dude is loaded. I almost turned to a life of sin, the other man said. I had it all planned out. I was going to steal every toaster in the neighborhood, then sell it back to everyone at inflated prices. Dang it, that's a really good idea. I wish I would have thought of it back in my life of crime. The men seemed unfazed by the sheer number of people in a coma-like state. How long had these people been like this? How could these men not understand how horrible this all was? She clutched at her rail spike. There were only two of them. She could easily send the husk souls back to their sleeper. But a horrible thought struck. How was she to tell the magic clones from real people? There were no outward differences between the two. She could not risk attacking them without hurting someone real. The two men leapt back at the sight of Idris appearing in the hallway. She flashed her wallet with her thumb over her driver's license. I'm here about a house fire safety check, Idris said, snapping her wallet shut and placing it back in her pocket. Can I speak to the owner, please? This is an extreme health and fire code risk. This is private property. You can't be here, one of the men said. Idris opened her cell phone and dialed the fire department. I'm calling this in and taking this notebook of addresses. One of the men pushed the other towards Idris. Get her, Bob. Dude, do you see that spike on her belt? I'm not getting her. The pay is good, but not that good. Run. The men bolted out the door. Yes, Idris said into the phone to the dispatcher. Something horrible has happened here. She gave the address and ended the call. A clank came from the other room. Idris checked to see what had caused the noise. In the living room, on a metal counter below the window, she saw a paw print. 101 Main Street. When she saw smoke coming from the building downtown, she panicked. She ran to her home and jumped into her truck, then drove in and out of traffic down the 101. There, she found several large commercial trucks blocking the road. She barely had time to read the name Spinner's Pizza before she heard something from inside. Faintly, heard over the running engines, she heard 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. She ran. The truck blew up, setting the Dynamite History Museum on fire. The building erupted, sending pieces of building flying in all directions. She braced herself behind the truck as the blast grew. Pieces of the Not a Magic Tea Shop flew off the building. Clouds of colorful magic smoke rose and cracked. A thunderous sound rang out, and a vortex formed in the sky above the shop. Before she could get her wits about her, she heard something else. A voice that sent chills down her spine despite the intense heat of the flaming chaos raining around her. Hello, Idris Whitaker. You tried taking something from me? I thought I'd remind you of the rules of the game. You strike, and I strike back swiftly, the cat said. He crept slowly towards her as the streetlights above cracked and burst into flames and landed as ash on the ground. The tea shop had nothing to do with it, Idris said. Then don't touch my food, the cat said. The museum kept burning, but the magic tea shop stopped. Its walls were now black, and the roof in Looney's apartment had caved in. All of Looney's possessions were gone. The skull flowers she had collected were now ashes. The circle now was complete. Because of Idris, Looney had lost everything in the blink of an eye. The stone statue of Taylor had fallen from its place in Looney's apartment to the ground below, surrounded in ash. Idris tried to kick the cat, but Langhorn gracefully sidestepped. He sprang back out of reach and said with a huff, Tisk tisk. Of course she would attempt to duel me in my feline form. Wise tactic, but I think not. Till we meet again, sister. An angry Idris picked up a piece of hot debris and flung it towards the cat. With a rage unseen from within her, she hurled object after object towards the slippery creature. Sirens roared behind her, with fire trucks and ambulances racing down towards them. What did you call me? Idris shouted. Till next time. The cat ducked into the sewer. Idris tried to go after him, almost getting stuck in the hole in the street. I am nothing like you, she shouted after him. Nothing. I have no siblings. Episode 5, Sister. Hotel room. Noon. Before I met your mom, it could have been the dancer in the green top in Ada, Oklahoma? Or after your mom with a fake magic performer in Vegas. I know I had some wild parties back in my younger days, so I put some rappers to shame, but you do not have a brother. Unless I messed up somehow. They had rented a room for her father to stay until things calmed down. She brought up the last of his bags and wiped the sweat off her face. His luggage was mostly hunting and fishing books. Idris sat at the desk with her arms crossed, her brow lowered. She hated having any sort of conversation with her father when it came to the past. Anything post her assumed death was fine. Asking anything about her mother always felt like being branded. You are not inspiring confidence, Idris said to her father. She did not like that Mr. Whitaker had finished a second cup of coffee at the hotel already and was already filling the pot in the bathroom sink to make more. But after her mentor, Looney, told her about his behavior when she was ill as a kid, the coffee addiction was a vast improvement. I haven't always been perfect, or good, or even halfway decent, actually. I'll look up some of the women I've dated and I'll double check. I've really been a bad father. Are you sure this vampire fella Uncree wasn't telling you a lie to get a rise out of you? No. Idris headed towards the door. Not without he said it. This is something personal. I need to find out why. Stay in the room and don't tell anyone that you're here. This vampire is dangerous. I have to go talk to the sheriff about the shop damage. Dad, most importantly, don't let any cats in here. Let me help you capture this thing. If we can get that sucker to steel cage, there's no escape. I need to help you. I owe you. I'll do anything to make up for abandoning you, he said. I'm not risking you getting hurt. No cats. Police station. Interrogation room. What's what I hate about this magic stuff? I can't tell what's real make-believe anymore, the detective said, lifting up his sagging pants. So we have your statement, and we will look into these, what do you call them? Feeding houses? Have you heard from the shop owner since your tea shop building went to Ghostbusters? I haven't heard from Braylon in 5 years, Idris said. No one knows how to get a hold of her. She told Looney that she was off fighting monsters or something. Are you going to do something? I told you I'd call animal control. They'll be on the lookout for a white cat stealing body parts. Now, no matter what you do, promise me you aren't going to take things into your own hands. Shop loss is big, but it can be rebuilt. You can't. Idris sighed. I can, actually. I'm immortal, technically. You can't search your big brother is watching computer to see if there's any family members of mine out there? Well, that's not a real thing, the detective said. Unless you or whatever family member it is has a record, I ain't gonna show in her system. I can't help you. That's not what you want to hear, I get it. But that's Whispers Bay PD for you. Idris crossed her arms. We tried to take every call seriously, but you're accusing Sunset Baptist Church and Spinner's Pizza as being part of a secret conspiracy to take over the city. And that's the same kind of story we got from folks who wander out on the highway at 2 o'clock in the morning to work on their dance moves. What you gave us is no proof of anything at all. I can't keep listening to you rambling. I'm out of here. If I'm free to go. I just finished her cup of coffee. She didn't really want anything to drink, but she always wondered if they would actually bring you something if you asked for it. In a strange way, she found that act satisfying. I've spent a lot of years on the force, and let me tell you, monsters aren't born. They're created. Oh, your daddy, I said hi. We miss him at the bar, but we ain't never want to see him again. Don't forget your railroad spike. The man tipped his hat to her. Sure, she said. I'll be needing it. As she exited the station, her thoughts dwelled on her father. She had hardly known him at that point, even though she lived with him, so hearing the detective's reactions started something in her. If someone in a small town suspected something as juicy as someone having a secret child, it would be discovered. Part of her wanted to go to check family records, but if the detective seemed to doubt it, it seemed unlikely. But where did this leave Idris? Barry had to be the answer, But how did Idris factor into his experiments? Why was she dragged into any of this? She wished she were a child again, before the yo-yo wizards and the knowledge of the magic world. The life she longed for, she could no longer live. She opened the address book she had recovered from the feeding house and placed her finger under the second location. She headed for her truck. Buffy River RV Park. The abandoned cars and trains sat near the wide river's edge. Idris jumped from the top of a tree, landing on a forest floor covered in pine needles. She watched the massive numbers of vampire clones and fan clubbers go in and out to the encampment. Their little village stretched throughout the mountains. This was more than she had seen even at her Make-A-Wish Portland Trailblazers game. Most of the people seemed to live there, some in tents, others in the abandoned rail cars. I just spotted one of them that was covered in morning glories. She couldn't see past all the flowers growing from within. Uncree recreated the secret garden room from Deck9's mansion, she thought. I'm never going to get him through all these people. If I have to fight everyone myself, I don't stand a chance. This is impossible. She spotted smoke rising from pots and pans stacked on heated stones, close to an enormous bonfire. There, she could see old man Pastor Branson handing out bowls of soup to everyone. Of course, he had a stack of Bibles and flyers nearby. Idris felt something jabbed into her back. She raised her hands. Don't move unless you want to become a pineapple, the voice said. The woman behind her took the spike off its clip and removed it from her person. Soon she was facing a tree as the person patted her down. Actually, I'd rather be the pineapple, Idris deadpanned. What did you think you were doing, hunting Dracula? You're lucky all those tinfoil hat-wearing people didn't see you, the person said. At first, the voice seemed familiar to Idris, but she couldn't place this to any memory of anyone. Dracula would be much easier, Idris scoffed. Stop frisking me, please. The ring around your wrist. Those are hand charm marks, aren't they? Do you have something to do with my shop blowing up? Idris turned around. A woman with shoulder-length dark hair and a top hat examined the weapon. She recognized her from cleaning the Not a Magic Tea Shop basement print lab. The building had no basement, of course. It was the portal that led there, but everyone understood it easier that way. Braylon, what are you doing back in the bay? That is a name I have not heard in an age. Now, the people call me the Riraka. No, Idris said. I am seriously not calling you that. Braylon, or Riraka rather, crossed her arms. Don't tell me who I am. Maybe have my cool nickname. Who are you? Why are you packing heat? I work for you, the Riraka. The shop has more than one worker? I thought Looney did everything, her and that little kid. Oh, you are that little kid. Oh my god, I'm getting old. Tell me who you are next time. I am not a happy Wookiee right now. Truck, parked at Beach Access 2. See, you have to belittle the kitty a lot and say something like, my papa. That's the way to top off the kettle. The two sat in a truck filled with different rocks and trinkets gathered from across the country, like a dream catcher on the dashboard or bottles of sand art in the back seat. A salty breeze flew in through the cracked windows. Uncree is too quick, and has too many followers to fight, Idris said. Braylon stuck out her tongue while she flipped through a CD case. She picked one and inserted it into the truck's player. French pop music played through 10 can-sounding speakers. Then you're gonna have to find a way to trap him next time using cat form. Because what we got here is a vampire with hive tendencies. If this spreads to anywhere but the coast, there's no stopping it until it gets too big to control. Until it collapsed, bringing back all the traditions and ways of life that were snuffed out. That's always how it works if you've ever read a history book. I mostly read your herbology notes from working at the tea shop, Idris said. Your handwriting sucks, by the way. We don't have time for that. How do we kill this monster? I haven't been close enough to try it. I don't think those spikes would do it. I found some flowers that look like skulls of berries, and the garden portaled away. Could that be something? Braylon slammed her fist on the console, ejecting the CD. Her mouth dropped, and she let out a nervous cough. Found skull flowers. Not thunder brew, but real ones that you can't water. Because the water vanishes the moment they touch the thorny stems, grown with mushrooms, and you didn't tell me? Where is it? Why are you getting excited? They were in the apartment when the explosion happened. Braylon hit the horn and cursed. She got out of the truck and walked towards the shore. Idris followed after her. What I say, what are you doing? She called out to Braylon. To look for the boot, the one soul who was trapped by a health insurance company owner, said, walking faster in the sand. Because the only chance we had of breaking your yo-yo bond and getting my friend back went up in flames because you're an idiot. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you protect them? There was an entire section in the employee handbook about this. I put them in the safest place I could. Never once have your notes mentioned anything about those flowers. Because it's dark magic, stupid. Some magic we Orgornians don't talk about, Braylon said. The council might be all chill now, but they still aren't cool with that sort of thing. First, do you know how much somebody would pay for one of those flowers? Everyone thought those species were extinct since the 12th century. Second, the accounts we have say that they are hard as hell to grow, and we're talking like Master Gardener level sort of stuff here. And lastly, Braylon paused. Looney didn't want you knowing about certain things. She thought it'd bring you trouble. Trouble found me anyway, Idris said. That confirms Barry is trying to find a way to break his bond, Braylon said. What was he trying to do with it? That kind of magic has been believed dead for hundreds of years. No, I would recommend a Grobobolo Pockets Blessed item, not the carrot wand. Never use the carrot wand. Only true magic users should use that. Remember, we don't always see every spell consequence right away. Braylon looked away. Looney using it once could have caused a lot of damage. Here's a wrist charm. Don't use this unless you mean it. It's designed to literally suck souls from people. It's awesome, but try a stake first. Railroad Spike is a good choice. Untreated vampires can break wooden stakes in a fight. Braylon, from one of her many pockets, handed her a red wooden wrist charm. At first, Idris did not accept it. I don't know if I can do this, Idris said. I'm not this person. Idris watched Braylon pick up a smooth rock and fling it into the ocean. The worst monster I ever faced made me feel like that. It made me question everything I was. When I figured out I was in trouble, it was too late. No one understood the seriousness of the situation. How did you defeat the beast? I just asked. I broke up with the loser, Braylon said. But walking away from a monster, it's never easy. If me has kept you around all these years, and Taylor gave up everything for you, you are that person. That is your calling. You noble idiot who cost me a lot of money, destroyed one of the most powerful herbs ever, just reminding you of that little thing. Anyways, get the vampire close enough to touch you, and when you are close enough, pull the charm. That's all you need to know. It works with the undead too. Why did you say vampire weird? Idris asked. You haven't figured it out yet, Braylon said. We can't say what this creature really is. Taylor would have told you the same thing. This isn't a vampire. Barry Dick 9 must have spent some time in the Four Corners exploring some taboo stuff. This uncreated man is some dark magic OP evil thing. Just like my ex. Hotel. Evening. Idris gasped at the sight of the open door. In front of the entryway was a can filled with milk. Leading into the room were red paw prints. She ran inside, but tripped over something in front of the door. A metal cage had been placed facing outward. In an attempt to trap the cat, she tried to kick it out of the way, but the cage was heavy. Giving up, she stepped up on it and leapt over. On the hotel's velvet sofa lay her father. His skin was pale, his eyes were closed. 2 fang marks shone bright red on his neck. He had been turned into a sleeper. Idris cursed. The closet door swung open. She turned to a vampire clone of her father, grabbing her by the throat. Her other father screamed in a voice she had never heard before, a raw, desperate cry. He pushed her back onto her sleeping father. The bracelet, Idris thought. She remembered what Braylon had said would happen when she pulled it off her wrist. Get the vampire close enough to touch you, and when you're close enough, pull the charm. That's all you need to know. It works on the undead too. She, being on her father's legs, wrestled with his vampire clone. The charm was close enough to work on both of them. Whose soul would the bracelet suck out? The life of her father was not a thing she could risk. She knew this, but as the clone mouth got closer to her skin, something had to be done. She prolonged it as long as she could, holding back the undead beast from draining her. But her strength was running out. She felt the clone's fangs on her warm neck. A deafening snap rang out. The clone above her became limp and dropped to the floor. For a moment, she caught her breath before turning to her father. "The hell I do this for?" she thought. "What have I done? What have I become?" The TV was turned on to the weather station, and a forecaster squinted at the screen. "It's, gonna be raining, I guess. Does that say rain, Carl? I can't read that." "Hello, sister. Your father was a delicious snack," she heard a voice say. It came from somewhere inside the hotel room. Frantically, she looked about. The voice sounded small, which led her to believe that the uncreated man was in cat form. All she had to do was find him. "Show yourself," Idris shouted as she felt her father's pulse. "You'll have to forgive me. I only stopped in for a bite." Idris checked the ceiling, noticing the network of vents in the hotel walls. "Why are you calling me sister?" she asked. "Barry created me from you. Have you not read the journal? How he took your hair at the hospital? Or did that go up in flames as well, like everything else in your life ever has?" "Oh, yes, Idris. I know everything about you, 'cause in a magic sort of way, you are my sister." That's an interesting interpretation. How about hell no? She heard a noise coming from the bathroom. Slowly, she crept and opened the door. The bathroom shower curtain was drawn and the window was open. She pulled back the rose-patterned plastic. From above, she saw something move. There on the shower head, the white cat sat. "You found me. Now it's my turn to find you. Count to 100. The cat sprang towards the window. Idris caught him before he could escape. "Release me." She wrestled with the beast, knocking over the fold-up table and sending her father's playing cards everywhere. The cat bit her and tried to claw himself free. With one hand, she squeezed as hard as she could to hold him in place. With the other, she reached for the spike. The cat broke free and rocketed out of the hotel. Idris ran after him, but was helpless as he crossed traffic and vanished into the night. She ran back to her father, searching for a pulse. She found none. I am the monster. 101 Main Street. Idris arrived at the smothering ruins of the not-a-magic tea shop. She approached Braylon, who swept dust into a pan. "Where is it?" Idris yelled. She searched through the wreckage and ashes, throwing pieces of wood and crumbled brick as she went. She cursed and spit. Her face was red. "Calm down, kid. What's wrong?" Braylon said. She did not answer. Her search went on. Braylon followed her as she rushed pile to pile, looking for something. "What?" Braylon said. "Cat got your tongue?" At this, Idris grabbed both of Braylon's shoulders, giving her a shake. "The cat got my father. The cat got my father, and I'm gonna get him." She threw Braylon down. "That's a great way to treat your boss. Help me clean up so we can rebuild the shop. Then we can track down the vampire. You have to be patient." Idris did not listen. A flash caught her eye. Where the counter had once stood sat a metal box in a pile of burned wood. She blew off the soot and opened the container, revealing a large petrified carrot wand, with mold growing on top of it. "You're not supposed to touch that," Braylon said. "Normals using magic is dangerous. You don't understand the responsibility." Idris pointed the carrot at a nearby street light and shouted a word as if it were a curse. "Blabbergiliosis." A bright beam shot out from the tip of the guar, rocketing towards the wooden pole, snapping the structure in half. The air around the light was pulsating like a subwoofer cranked to 11. The people who were waiting for the store to reopen ran at the sound of the street light crashing. Idris began to walk away, but Braylon stepped in front of her. If you leave here with that weapon, you're fired. You cannot do this. What would Taylor think? This is what we've been fighting against, Barry's magic in the entire world. This is not what we stand for at the Not a Magic Tea Shop. You don't care about the shop at all, Idris said, or else you would have been here. This is the only way. Idris walked away from her and headed towards Sunset Baptist Church. Episode 6, Soul Break. The walls crashed and crumbled as Idris used the carrot wand to make herself an entrance next to the front doors of the church. People and spice vampires fled in a panic as she made her way to the pulpit in the sanctuary. The old pianist who had been playing adjusted her glasses before grabbing her music book in front of her. "Oh, we're not playing the third verse then," Idris screamed. "Where is the uncreated man?" The preacher entered from an adjoining hall, dressed in a silk suit with a floral pattern. He looked at the wreckage Idris had caused and shook his head. "Why in heaven's name didn't you use the door?" Pastor Branson said. "There's no need for such blabbergaliosis." The shot from the wand cracked the edge of the sanctuary open. People screamed. Where windows had been was a clear view of the Wanderer's mountain range, full of rolling forests inhabited with sky-reaching conifers. "Where is he?" Idris demanded. "Oh, you're making a big mistake," the preacher said. "We're trying to build something here, don't you see? You can be a part of it. You can set the sleepers free." "Don't lecture me in ethics. You of all people," she said. "I'll give you 3 more seconds before this becomes an outdoor worship center." "Stop, before you hurt someone. I'll tell you what I know. He was to meet with the council at Spinner's Pizza to make final arrangements. Don't do this. Turn back. Give him what he wants so we can all live in peace." "There is no turning back now. The uncreated man will soon be no more." Spinner's Pizza. The restaurant and dance floor was void of people. Half-eaten pizzas were left on most of the tables. The glasses sweated from the cold cocktails left at the bar. A cash register in the back sat with its till open. Idris walked past the jack-o'-lantern setting on the DJ stand and walked into the kitchen. There she found an open space featuring a walkway-like conveyor belt that led to an oven. About 20 raw pizzas sat ready to go in. The wood oven's flames roared past the outer iron gates. Almost by instinct, she clutched at the cloves of garlic she had in her pocket. "You weren't willing that I choose to be back here. We aren't covered for that," she heard a voice say. From behind the oven appeared Mr. Tottacini in a heavy trench coat. He wiped the sweat off his whiskers with a silk hanky. He flipped a switch. The conveyor belt started. "You are too late. The babe will be ours by nightfall. You remained our only obstacle," he said. Idris readied her railroad spike. "Tell me where Uncree is. No one will get hurt." No, you misunderstand, sick little girl," he said. "I do not fight. Anger begets greater anger. I pay employees living wages to do that for me." Idris felt a sharp, heavy tap come from behind her. She turned to face the vampire clone of Eden. The young girl looked paler than she had before. The life had left her arctic blue eyes. "Did I not dance with you in Bourbon once?" The clone took a hold of Idris's hand, trying to de-weapon her. Idris fought back, but the clone shoved her onto the conveyor belt. The smell of cooked bread, tomatoes, and smoke filled the room. "Oh my God," Idris shouted. "It's Travis Kelsey." "I can't believe it. I'll break out the dry-aged ribeye." Mr. Tottacini dashed into the freezer room, slamming the door behind him shut. Her trick had worked. The noise startled the magic clone enough to break Idris's hand free. She staked the vampire clone halfway through the heart and drove her back onto the belt. Idris pressed hard enough to trap her on top of the pizzas headed to the fire. The Eden clone screamed for mercy as Idris leaped towards the freezer door outer lock. Slow, loud footsteps rang out from inside. Mr. Tadachini was too slow to be able to reach the door before Idris could get there. She slipped on the wet surface and landed on her face. This did not faze her. In a moment, she still locked the door and stopped the oven belt. "Let me out, you tricked me," the owner cried. Idris found a cast iron skillet, a knife, and a cutting board. With the edge of the blade, she cracked open her pocket garlic, saving the peels for later. Over a flame on the stove, she heated a large helping of olive oil and added chopped garlic. She stirred. "What is that awful smell? No, it's not. Please, no!" Mr. Tadachini yelled from behind the door. The trick is cooking it in oil to release all the wonderful aromas. This makes a great topping to parboiled slices of leftover pizza. I think Eden's clone should try a large slice. Over the kitchen filled with screams, Idris cut up an 18-inch cheese. She added the cooked garlic on top of it and baked it in the oven. After the cheese began to boil, Idris withdrew it with a wood peel and took hold of it in her oven mitt. The clone was still stuck to the belt and was drained of all energy, hanging on barely to her afterlife. Hot mozzarella and garlic dripped over the vampire clone's mouth. "Open wide for the jet plane," Idris said. "Or do you want to tell me where the monster is?" "I'll tell you where the monster is. She is right in front of me," Eden's clone said. Wrong answer. Idris held the clone's head and shoved pizza into her mouth. She forced a large bite down. The clone cried out in pain. Mr. Tadachini banged in the walls of the fridge, desperately trying to get out. "Don't hurt her. Novelton Ridge. The uncreated man has retreated to Novelton Ridge, the hill before the pine bush. If you leave now, you can reach him. Stop this madness." That was the right answer, Idris said, but it doesn't help Eden's clone any. Mr. Tadachini screamed, "No!" Idris shoved the remaining slice into her mouth and held her hands over her lips. After watching a few moments of her gagging, she shoved the railroad spike fully through, causing her to disappear into the void, leaving only behind a blue dusk. "Go back to your sleeper," Idris said. With pink foamy soap, she scrubbed her hands at the industrial-sized sink, listening to the sobs of Mr. Tadachini reverberating throughout the restaurant. After she had dried her hands, she walked to the iron freezer door and unlocked it. Before leaving, she gave out one final warning. Anyone who supports the uncreated man will be put down like the sickness they are. Spread the word. Forest path. Old world trees surrounded her as the sun began to set. The grass swayed back and forth with the wind, and the crickets chirped nearby. The mist had again taken the mountains and swirled above Idris, who walked along a rocky path. She reached a point on top where, on one side of her, through the timber, she could see the vast curvature of the ocean in the distance. For an instant, the light above the water flashed green. A rare phenomenon did little to pull her from her state. She continued on the path, with her fists clenched and teeth gritted. When the last light of the day had faded and the stars had come out, she reached a cabin at the edge of a steep slope. Its roof was thick of moss grown that weaved along its wooden shingles. The air felt damp in the fog, and she had not prepared for the weather, but still she hardly felt it. She felt nothing. She opened the door to the cabin and shouted, "Show yourself." But when she took a step in, she found there was no floor beneath her. She was unable to balance. She fell through the darkness until she landed on cold, wet stone. From above her, she heard chuckling that echoed through the hollowed-out stone tunnel. "Greetings, sister," she heard. "You think of that all by yourself, Langhorn?" Idris said. "Unless you randomly decided to take up hiking, I assume you're here in me. We can't let things go that way. I thought we were only beginning to know each other. You and I need to listen to one another." Idris pointed up with her wand and sent a curse up the tunnel. When she did, the tunnel lit in front of her. It broke in several directions, each one running deep into the mountain. Close by were cans of applesauce and crackers, along with a bed made of ragged clothing. She saw squares on the stone wall. She fired off another curse, and when the light returned, there her face was. And hundreds of photos were posted everywhere. Some of her were working in the tea shop and graduating from Whispers Bay High. One was her professional prom photo of her standing alone in a black dress, scouring her eyes. "What is this?" she said, tugging at the railroad spike attached to her jeans. "I've been watching you, sister," Uncre said from above. "It is with heavy heart that things must end. It is fate. Their essence I can uncreate myself. My followers have already marched on Whispers Bay. It is only a matter of time before we establish your rule. A better world can start. Please, give me your hand, sister. I will pull you up, and we will do our part." There was no way up. Her hand slipped too much on the stone walls to climb. She could flee into the mountain, but she did not know where it led. There was no escape. She looked at the ground and pointed and screamed a curse with her carrot wand as long as she could. The beam blast sent her flying upward, sending her landing on the floor above. The uncreated man stood, expecting her, in his human, disfigured form, with his large claw-like weapon readied. "Soon I'll be free of this non-existence of endless having to recover from feeding from my followers. Left them wake. Make Taylor's sacrifice worth it. This is your purpose. This is your calling. Idris Whitaker." She sent a curse at him, sending him flying back into the cabin wall. It shattered the wood framing and sent him through to the outside. The earth shook. Repeatedly, she sent curse after curse at him, striking him over and over, until suddenly she could no longer stand. The mountain rumbled, and the ground shook so hard it felt like water under her feet. A deafening roar sent both of them covering their ears. The surrounding air got hot. The mist turned into rain. Rocks, dirt, and debris flew from everywhere. "Stop using that!" The uncreated man shouted over the chaos while holding his ribs. He was broken and bruised and swayed side to side in his stance uncontrollably. "It is doing something to the mountain. Spells have consequences." She sent another curse and came to stand over him. Mountains above them erupted, and flames and lava could be seen spewing from its blown top. Fire and lava fell around them. She removed the railroad spike, dipped in white ash from her buckle, and knelt beside him. She drew the weapon back and aimed it at his heart. "Wait!" he shouted, too frail to fight or run. "If you send me to the void, then everyone I have ever fed on never wakes up again. The only way I can save them is if we uncreate each other." I learned something that Barry Dicknine never did. Idris did not flinch. I understand the cost, even if the price stings. The forest filled with black smoke. The surrounding air grew hotter, and she could feel the sweat rolling down her spine. "The bond cannot be broken unless a willing person exchanges places with the two. Let me save all the people I have hurt. Let me try to break your soul bond. This might heal everyone, so that I no longer have to wake up every day with the feeling that I have to pay them back." The mountain erupted again. Idris reached out her hand and helped the man to his feet. "I am not your sibling. I accept your offer. I will use you to end my bond, to bring Taylor back." Arcadia Park, Whispers Bay. Idris and the uncreated man stood under the large tree at the center of the park. Most of the blue-green needles had fallen from the branches of the volcano. The main street of Whispers Bay was packed with traffic heading both ways out of town. Cars honked, children cried, the forest above them burned brightly in the flames. Panic filled the air. Lava spewed from the top of the mountain and rolled into the ocean below. Vampire clones and ragamuffins ran helpless, lost in the panic. The two stepped onto the magic chalk circle that surrounded the tree. Langhorn's gaze was glued to the bare cherry blossom trees nearby. Under the cherry blossoms, strangers are not really strangers, he said. Accepting to break my bond, Idris seemed to pay no attention to his words. You absorb both Taylor's and I's curse, and will be trapped in the void for the rest of time. Do you wish to do this? I submit. She passed the cup of mixed dry grass root and Yosipian artidial leaves, brewed in water, and handed it to him. He lingered for a moment, looking into the bone cup at the swirling black liquid. I wish we could have known each other, he said, in a different world, in a place where we don't have to be the monsters. He lifted the cup to his lips. Idris stared into the man's sad eyes, seeing a reflection of herself. She gasped. Stop, she shouted. He did not. He brought the cup back to drink. She slapped it out of his hands. He shape-shifted into his cat form and tried to lick the tea from the ground. She picked up the creature and held on to him in a tight embrace. Let me drink, he shouted. I cannot leave all those people like this. This is not my calling, she said, with tears filling her eyes. We can find another way. From the sky, a voice came hurling towards Iris. She dropped to her knees and covered the cat with her body. Hello, Idris, the White Owl said. I'm back from holiday. I have a letter from Grobobola. She let the cat down and took the letter. She read it. Yo, Idris. Nice find of the skull flower she put in Looney's apartment. Those feed on living plants in order to survive. I thought you might not want to destroy a couple $1 million worth of store stock, so I took them to the lake and placed them in the mushroom patch. Congrats on your once-in-a-lifetime find. The unknown abilities might keep you studying them for years. Also, I owe Looney 1 gallon of milk and 23 frozen chicken nuggets. P.S. You're getting a little moody lately. You need to chill. We need to keep our inner monsters at a reasonable size. Idris stared at the letter. Hogsnor, College of Fine Magic Arts, Animal Studies, Warcraft, Potion and Herbs, and Competitive Walking. Hello, class. My name is Idris Olivia Walker. I am a herbologist and a vampire hunter. I am also the manager of the Not a Magic tea shop in a coastal town. She steadied herself on the speaker's podium. The class was filled with magic and non-magic students taking the non-credit course. A girl in the front row eating a bag of Cheetos sneered. For my age, what makes you qualified to teach this class? Multiple students had placed their feet on their desk and had already checked out mentally. Something furry rubbed against the legs of the Cheetos girl. She screamed and jumped on her seat. A white cat leapt onto the desk and spun in a circle. It morphed into the uncreated man who opened his mouth to reveal his fangs. Everyone panicked, and people began to flee the classroom. Suddenly, Langhorn laughed. Idris joined in his laughter. Everyone sit down. I need you to write the most important lesson you will learn in this class. Idris walked to the whiteboard and wrote, There are no monsters but the ones we let live inside ourselves. My brother, Langhorn, a magic experiment gone wrong, is here with us today. He'll be dropping by to help out. With his aid, I learned that Skullflower's, origins unknown, is a cure for dark magic. We don't know what counteracts the consequences of the spell, and we can't be sure that the flowers react to everyone the same. But we have seen it repel and reverse a number of different curses with a small sample of use since I rejoined the Not a Magic tea shop. And no, it did not break my yo-yo bond. It did nothing to me. With the Langhorn, it broke his curse. And everyone he fed on woke up. They are all home now, safe, except my father, who was gone. That is something else I will have to live with until I pass on my time to my soul bond. Idris paused and took a drink of water from a cup labeled Sister. She went on. That is for another time. Does anyone have questions? Langhorn raised his hand. Yes, brother? Can I take a picture with everyone and you in the class? I have a sister. After class, and I think it's a good idea. Oh, and I will be grading on a curve. The class moaned together as if they were a choir. And there, Idris learned her true calling. To be a healer of all and a destroyer of none. Though she felt a weight on her, she chose to find a way for life instead. While Ludi and her had not seen eye to eye on that yet, she was proud of herself. Ludi would speak to her again in time. I just knew that Ludi was being controlled by her own little monster. Someday, it would blow over. She strove to learn all she could about the flowers and the curious magic world of the coast, so that she could help other monsters around the world fight the darkness that they held. The end. And that is a story I've been trying to tell since high school. Yes, I was a dark little sad emo kid, as you can tell, but the message is still kind of good in this. It's easy to want to go off and fight for things you believe in, but sometimes that's not the best course of action. But you must answer your own true calling. I want to give a shout out to the producer, Shay. She's awesome and helped me brainstorm stuff for this. That's where the vampire came from, the whiskers. That was her thing. And thank you everyone who keeps coming back to listen to my stories. It's so awesome. I appreciate each and every single one of you. So until next time, good luck looking for cows out there.